Digital Drive here, SEC Media Days in Tampa. SportsCall Auburn, J.J. Jackson and Brooks Childress, now with Heath Cline from the Chuck Oliver Show, 680 The Fan there in Atlanta. This is exciting. Glad to have you on the program, Heath.
Yeah, glad to be here. Always. This is one of the things that's fun about Media Days is getting a chance to see people that you may not see other than this one window at a time. We talk a lot, but we don't always see guys, so it's fun.
It's hard to be all in the same place, but obviously everybody's got their pulse on the conference as a whole, and college football is certainly what you guys focus on with the Chuck Oliver Show. Let's talk about that for a moment because we're proud affiliates in the Auburn area. Folks can hear that each and every day, 11 to 1 Central Time in our area. Tell me about what it's like talking college football quite literally every day of the year.
It's a trip. I mean, I imagine you guys do it pretty close there at Auburn. Now, the difference is you guys obviously going to be laser focused, but what you can do is you could say, hey, let's talk a little baseball today. Let's see what the basketball team's got going. Yeah, we don't every single day, 2 hours. It is basically all college football except for once a blue moon, Chuck will do like one segment on the Kentucky Derby just because he wants to. It's his show, so he can do that. But, yeah, I would say 99.9% of the time we deliver on the promise. It'll be college football. And, look, I got to give Chuck the credit on that because he just committed to it and wants to do it that way. And it's pretty unusual, but it's certainly found a niche. And he'll find something, man. It'll be, I don't know, June 10th, and Chuck will come in and he'll have some monologue about SMU and Eric Dickerson and how he wants to tie that into something today, and he comes up with angles. I give him credit. I don't know if I could do it, honestly, for every single day to come up with something, because there's some days that if we're talking about news, just news, there's not a whole lot to work with for news, but he'll come up with preview angle, review angle, something that interests him that day every single day.
And I wanted to follow up on that. What's that research like when you've got to go through just college football each and every day?
Well, and especially, let's be real, it's Southern college football. If I got a red-hot take on UNLV football, I'm not 100% sure that's what our audience is looking for. So, it's basically at its core, SEC number one by a mile, ACC certain schools, again, Syracuse, Boston College, Pittsburgh, probably not going to go that heavy on them unless there's a really interesting story or they're a lot better than we turned out. Now, if you had told me 2 years ago I would ever book an Indiana football guest in my life, I would not have believed you, and yet here we are.
Yeah.
So, but it's basically, core SEC, some ACC, and then a few of the big programs, Michigan, Ohio State. We had somebody go nuts on us on Twitter. You said it was Southern sports today. This isn't Southern sports. What is this? We never promised we would never talk about any college football outside the SEC, but it's going to be. It's Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State. Programs that are either playing for or winning the national title, or like a USC hasn't done that in a while. That's like the one team on the West we kind of check in on every few months, just because, in the end, you got to care about those teams too, because we're all competing. Unless the SEC secedes, which we've heard them talk about that this week, but unless that happens, there's certain schools are going to be a part of the conversation, so we include them too.
Yeah, the format of the show that you guys have built is so interesting, being able to talk again about college football and being able to focus on so many different teams. I would imagine some fan bases quite literally are louder and more vocal than others. What's that like? You mentioned some people getting angry about the Southern sports today, but just hearing from a variety of fan bases.
Yeah. Most of the time we don't hear that much. Look, I'll be honest, if it was up to me, Chuck would do more social media, and I think there is a chance in the next calendar year that the bosses may kind of force him in that direction a little bit. Supposedly we might get cameras in the studios. Heck, you guys have cameras right now. We don't have cameras yet, but supposedly they might want that for 27. So if that's the case, you might get some Chuck Oliver video in your lives. But it's one of those things that when we do hear from folks, normally it's complimentary because, again, there's a lot to listen to. So if you're taking the time to listen to the show, we really appreciate that, whether it's over the air. Some people it's podcast every day because either they don't have an affiliate in their neighborhood or it's a time they can't catch it live, so they at least make sure they catch it later. We really appreciate it. Most people are complimentary, but every now and then there is somebody who either is angry about something somebody said or just maybe doesn't understand why. My example I always go to, we have no interest in talking politics. That is not what we do. But whatever party you are a supporter of, you still have to acknowledge the other one exists. You can't just say, well, all I care about is what my side is interested in, because we still have elections, we have legislation that's got to get passed. So, again, you might be mad at the Senate Majority Leader or Minority Leader because you can't stand them, but they're still relevant to your conversation, so you need to know who they are and what they're saying.
So let's take a look now at SEC Media Days this week. We've had some great quotes that have come out from the main media room and areas. What has been your favorite moment from the week so far?
It's so different than it used to be, guys. I mean, it used to be, this thing was a circus. There were years where it genuinely was a circus, and it's become really very professionally managed and very gray, I think, a lot of the time from the podium. There are not a lot of guys looking to spice it up. So when you get one that is willing to, appreciate it. And I think Pete Golding, certainly for a lot of people, people don't know that much about him to begin with outside of the programs he's worked at. So there's that curiosity about what's this guy like, and then kind of turtled up after the Dabo stuff. I don't know. Maybe he's not going to be much of a talker anyway. Some coaches like to talk, some guys don't. But after Dabo unleashed on him, we didn't hear from him for months. Even the people who covered that program weren't hearing from him. And so I don't know that any of us really knew what to expect. But it was interesting to hear him be refreshing. Now, I don't completely accept some of his premises that he put out there, but I'd rather a guy say something than just kind of go up there and be as gray and bland as possible. That's the thing. Some guys can handle that room and some guys can't. People probably think, oh, I bet Les Miles was fun in the room. Les Miles was death in the room. He was terrible. He was okay with his media, with LSU people that he knew and could kind of joke with, and he was okay with them. Up there, he was horrible. Mark Stoops on the podium, my goodness, it was an antidote for whatever it was. No-dos? It was an antidote for no-dos. Heck, I'll tell you, Gene Chizik. Chizik was so bad up there, and I confronted him about it later when he went into media. I said, you were doing that on purpose, right? Like, you can be honest. Yeah. You were trying to bore us into submission on purpose. He's like, absolutely. He admitted it. Because some guys don't want to make any news. They just want to say what the least they can get and get out of here. So the fact that Golding was interesting, I thought Summerall was good too. Again, big energy with that guy. It'll be a lot less charming if he doesn't win in a couple of years, but after they had a guy in Billy Napier that you had to kind of poke some, hey, you awake? You alive over there? I think that they really needed the jolt of energy that guy's given them in Gainesville.
All right, well, talking about energy, let's come back local and what's happening here on the Plains. Year one of Alex Golesh, kind of a home away from home now that he's back returning to Tampa this week, and got to hear from him earlier in the week. But Heath Cline's view on Auburn football going into 2026 is what?
I cannot process a world where Auburn has gone a half a decade without having a winning record. I can't wrap my head around that.
And yet here we are.
I mean, look, I'll let you guys in on a little something. I, as much as any SEC team, grew up an Auburn football fan. My grandfather went to Auburn's vet school. My uncle Russell still lives there in Auburn. So first football game I ever went to in my life in college football was Auburn against the University of Florida. And it was because my mom taught George Peoples, who played running back. He's not as known as some of the other guys from that era, but you had James Brooks and Joe Cribbs and George Peoples. That was a heck of a backfield. George played in the NFL for a few years, including here in Tampa. And he was from Tampa. My mom taught him. So like I say, as much as anything, I was inclined towards Auburn when I was growing up before I adopted Colorado as my team. So I want to see Auburn do well. I think this conference is a lot better when Auburn is entertaining and fun. In fact, I'll tell you this too. Only one game I've ever worn a tie to in my life. That was to an Auburn-Georgia game, the 1990 season. I spent 1990 at Mercer University. Worst mistake of my life. If you're a Mercer alum, I'm sorry. I just have to tell the truth. It wasn't for me. I'm sure it was great for you. But we didn't have a football team in Mercer. My buddy over at Beta Theta Pi at Auburn said, come over here. Got to go with him, go with his buddies, go and hang out in the fraternity block. But I had to wear the tie. And I was to be there at Auburn, Georgia, and hang out with some Kappa Kappa Gammas. I was willing to put on a tie for that. So I'm telling you, man, Jordan Hare, I like being there, and I want that place to be special. I think that Alex Golesh can get him there. I think that, look, we have to see, obviously, can he take them to great, because that's something he didn't do at USF. But I know for a fact, as somebody who grew up in Tampa, I pay attention to USF football too. They were horrible when he got here. I mean, they were dead. It's not just, it wasn't a good team. The program was dead. They had no energy of any kind. This is a pro area. They need to be good to get any interest. If they're not good, forget it, man. That stadium is comatose. And he got them to a bowl right away. He's got an entertaining offense to watch, seems to have some personality, know how to sell a little bit, doesn't have to sell as much at Auburn as he did down here. If he doesn't at least make them good, I'll be really surprised. Now, again, didn't get to the American Championship game, so it's fair to say, well, now wait a minute, can he get us to 10? Can he get us to Atlanta? He's got to prove that. But I think if you're an Auburn fan, if he doesn't at least get you to 8, at least feeling more relevant than you have the last few years, boy, that surprised me. I think he can do that.
When you look at what he's brought in a lot of guys from USF. Do you think that is a big advantage for him to already have? We're into summer workouts and everything, and you've got all these guys that already know what they're trying to do offensively, and obviously with your defensive coordinator still being retained with DJ Dirk, and you know a lot what you're going to do defensively going into this season. So when you've got that kind of continuity in a first-year head coach, how positive is that for him?
Yeah, I think that has to be a huge help because, as you say, you have one side of the ball where you feel like there's not going to be that many changes, so it's not as radical a shift as it normally is. So when you can bring a group of guys in that have that connection, it's kind of the same thing talking about Gainesville. You have a quarterback that comes with his offensive coordinator, several players that came with him that have been in that system. It's not what we've been used to where before this current era, it was like, okay, it's going to be a big adaptation. Like I covered Urban Meyer's first year at UF, and he came in and they said, we don't need tight end and we don't need fullback. And halfway through that first season, they realized, hey, we got to get a fullback in the SEC. We can't play the way we thought we could play. You're not going to have that. You're going to have somebody who's already coached in this conference, so he understands what SEC athleticism and schemes are like, and has done it recently, not 20 years ago, recently. And now he brings players who know his system. That's going to be, I think, an enormous help for them.
Always good to see you, Heath. We'll have to make more frequent visits throughout the football year. Really appreciate the time. Heath Cline of the Chuck Oliver Show. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime you guys need anything, just let me know.
This is SportsCall Auburn at SEC Media Days.